whether or not you guys like this movie or not, it's fine. It was a good excuse for me to go and start hitting the old ones again.
Yeah.
Which I have been doing all week, and was reminded A, how fucking much I love this guy, B, how Wes Anderson completely ripped him off, and C, yeah, the layering thing that's used a lot here didn't really kick in until Prospero. And then it just progressively, over the next 20 years, just a little bit more and more and more of it.
Yeah, Greenaway definitely has like periods. There's his early pre the draftsman's contract. He made a whole
I just got a hold of the one from 1983. What's that called? The room, not the room.
The room.
No, not the room.
It's something Falls.
The Falls.
The Falls. Yeah.
Yeah, I just found that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you can't get any of this shit in America. That's the stuff that makes me crazy.
Yeah.
I remember saying earlier that we have to decide whether or not
it's financed by the Dutch.
Yeah, this guy is a consummate of kind of a mannerist, a really process and form filmmaker, or he's just a lunatic.
He's a fool.
Yeah, I think that it's both. I think that there's some beautiful stuff in this movie, just gorgeous looking scenery. But remind me, like Cook and Thief and like the Belgian Architect, he's great at presenting a physical presence. Yeah, there's a sense of atmosphere, a sense of there's a sense of what. Yeah,
about this guy.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, they get. But the thing is, like, you dig right down, and he's just. I don't know what's going on with this guy in terms of like his view of humanity. You're right. Or you know.
Well, and I mean, Jared's not here to defend his totally wrong opinion, but Greenaway keeps everybody at arm's length. That's kind of his thing.
Yeah. He's very formalist. And the fact using those triptychs all the time was very much a formalist decision, because he's telling you, he's name checking and showing you everything like that. He's on the surface. You can feel like you're sitting in the editing booth with that guy.
I mean, in a way, he's like Woody Allen in that he delivers movies for a certain price and they know they'll make their money back. But they give him absolute freedom to do whatever the fuck you want.
Mm-hmm. Which is amazing. I wonder how he swings that.
Well, he's got like 79 movies in the IMDb.
I know.
There's like 14 features. I've probably seen 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's been doing whatever the fuck he's wanted to do since about 1984.
Mm-hmm. This movie also was made with 35 different funders. He went around hat in hand and he got everybody
35
possibly
funders in 6 countries.
Right. And one of them is a fucking tax shelter. It says it in
it does. It literally says Belgian tax shelter.
Yes. I saw that.
I have a screenshot of that. Unfortunately, it'll be hidden behind me, so I can't use that one. But yeah, this movie's really boring. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right.
It's okay.
Extraordinarily boring.
I didn't think it was extraordinarily terribly boring. I thought it was okay.
Don't you think it lacked in like one of those things called stories? Like
yeah.
He shows up there and he just runs around with his dick out for like an hour and then he leaves.
Well, the dialogue,
the dick part doesn't bother me.
This is where the warning dicks part comes in.
Right. Yeah. The dick part doesn't bother me. Like, whatever, fine. They're naked all the time. Who cares? Like the sex scene is ridiculous on a whole other level. Like that's anyway.
It turned me off Italian vinaigrette.
Oh man. Well, first of all, if someone's got too much vinegar and not enough oil, so we're like, hey, where'd it go?
But I haven't seen a cruet of olive oil in probably 40 years.
It's a nice.
You never want to see another one now.
Yeah.
No, I it doesn't have a story, and I just like it's a bunch of really pretty images and good, well shot, well lit, well directed scenes that have no connecting tissue to them at all.
The dialogue is more like a series of meandering essays than they are actual human beings talking.
There are a lot of his quotes.
Well, they're taken from interviews and writings that he did, which is in one way good, but in another way, I'd rather have somebody reading that over like archival footage for like a Ken Burns style documentary about him.
This was more Ken Russell than Ken Burns.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, nice. That might be the quote.
There was a lot of stock footage in there.
Yeah. Mind you, there's
Still
also
photographs.
I have to admire the bold decision to have a movie about a film director where you don't see him actually directing a movie in one single second the entire movie. All he does is complain
with the camera.
And because all he does is talk and complain and bitch about the fact that he's made this movie and they're trying to take it away from him. What movie? You know, it's like it was very odd.
It's true. They promised him a lot, and
Yeah.
you know, what's his name? Sinclair Lewis got cold feet, basically.
Yeah.
And he shot like what, 200 hours, 250 hours or something of footage.
And
Some
it's sitting in a
mild number.
vault somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, apparently it's been cut into about 4 different things, none of them his film.
Right.
And then his editor, who was still alive in like 73, cut it together and titled it Viva Mexico or whatever they were.
Viva Mexico.
Yeah, which was supposed to be the title. So roughly, this is according to the Britannica article I read, roughly according to Eisenstein's wishes.
Yeah.
And you know, it's you know, part of it was that he was sent there to kind of make a movie, but also I think Russia had designs on Mexico back then.
Yes.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
In Stalin's pocket.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, thing is, he didn't serve a political purpose there. He just showed there and it freaked the fuck out, which is great.
Thinking that they were going to turn Mexico communist, that was the idea. They were going to.
Well, they'd already
Or at least,
fought a
or at least
revolution.
at least be a client state. If
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
else.
There wasn't a Cold War back then. They didn't want to oppose American at that point. That was a good place to do it.
Mhm.
Right, it's pre-World War II.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
I want to say one other thing, which is that again, there's so many well-made, well-done scenes in this movie, and then there's this shit.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
like this goes on and on and on, and it's just why you don't need this. You could have filmed them sitting on the roof of somewhere in front of a matte painting, and it would have looked better than this. And it just completely threw me out of the movie. It happened like 3 times, and
Yeah.
it just completely threw me out of the movie. It was
Well,
just,
my theory is that they put that in there because Guanajuato doesn't look like this anymore. And somebody went and made a reproduction of that that wraparound background. The way it
shot
looked
this on a
with-
green screen.
Yeah. And
but
it's
there's
kind of like,
but there are several scenes where they show the city and you see modern buildings in it, and I thought that was actually really interesting because it's like, I don't fucking care that this place was obviously built in the 70s, but it doesn't matter. Like you lose that a little bit in the rest of the buildings, which are beautiful and colorful and stuff like that.
yeah.
But like
couple of the closing shots, I saw a 50-star American flag outside of a shop and some modern signage. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh well, guess they're near the end, so they can do that.
Tad, I was going to bring up that specific scene where the camera's endlessly circling them on that patio with no escape. There's like no stairs or opening in the railing.
yeah.
And they're having dinner, and the camera's just whirling around them, clearly shot on a green screen. And like you said, they put this Mexico background, and then there's that terrible cheap Photoshop lens flare effect that keeps coming through. It looks like trash. It's like so much of the rest of the movie looks so good, and like if you hadn't brought it up, I would have, because it's not good, man.
Well,
No, and it's some weird Michael Bay shit. Like, you
You know
know
what though? We could also say it's like Fellini in The Ship Sails On, where every sunset is clearly just a matte painting, on a canvas.
Yeah,
I have more respect.
I think
I
we
have
have
more
to
respect
give
for
it
matte
to-
paintings than I have for this.
Right.
This is cheap.
Well, it is. The film
looks
was put
like
in. It was brought in for less than $3 bills. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's good. It's effects, but it's not great effects.
And digital trash looks worse than analog trash.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly the term I'm looking for here. So they're effects, and they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they're not fantastic.
Speaking of that, what about those crazy like fisheye architectural shots?
That's what I'm talking about.
Is that a lens, or is that? Well, it's not this. It was where they did the interiors.
I
The
think
sort
that-
of Inception look.
Yeah.
He's got some sort of 360 virtual reality thing.
Now, this
He's
thing
using
behind me.
that.
I think
Yeah.
it's I think it's a they have these special lenses for shooting architecture so that you don't have things collapsing. You know, you fuck around with the perspective.
Right.
I think that's what they were doing, and they just overdid it.
Well, you see that
sort of
It's
unfold.
really disorienting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
but at
good.
least that's real. Like
yeah,
that,
look at the right side of where Chris's background. See the wires bend away.
Yeah.
That's like a fisheye that's been really.
But then
But it's like an
processed,
adjustable,
and he's zooming in and out of it, and changing the perspective. There's a filter that'll do that.
because what you're doing is you're actually changing the orientation of the plate or the sensor to the lens.
Right.
It's
Right.
like shooting a panorama with your iPhone, and you're going to get the same exact distortion.
No,
or those,
I'm gonna
or
wish I
those
put the-
360 cameras where the lens is actually here and or the elements here and it comes out like that, so you get a 360 and above with it.
I mean, I wish I put that fisheye lens on the
I
camera
think we have to give it to Peter, though, that he knows what the fuck he's doing. So if he did something that looks shitty, he must have been doing it on purpose. That's my
I'm with Jim on this one.
No.
I don't care. The author's intention.
I don't care that you don't care.
Author's intention in
I'm
this.
talking to the rational people in the room.
Author's intention in this situation doesn't make this less bad.
No,
Like, and again, there's good shit in this movie. Like, I think this is worth watching. Even like, I would absolutely say that I feel like I know more about filmmaking, and even to an extent, I
would say, listen, I fucking love this guy, but he's been driving me crazy forever. I put this in the lesser Greenaway column. Like, it's not 5-star like some of the 80s stuff, or I mean, maybe like 8.5 more than this. However,
I like Prospero a lot more than I like this.
I still enjoyed this even when it was making me nuts.
Now,
Prospero is a great movie.
First of all, let me say, Tigers, your theme this week is great. I mean,
well, and I did appreciate the way that this all kind of like.
I like the fact that it all kind of meshes together, and you're following this one dude, and it's like really well done.
I don't really know Eisenstein that well, and maybe I learned a little bit more about him from this. You know, I don't know what liberties are being taken. I don't know.
No, they were name checking people and artists and writers at the beginning of the film. I knew all that stuff. I knew all that stuff from college.
Would have gone a long way, but that's what he wanted to do, and I was never bored. I didn't know where it was going to go, and I don't think that he stuck the third act at all. It just kind of ends.
No, he didn't. It kind of ended.
The scenery, I thought the cinematography and the tricks, that the choices he made in post were interesting, as they usually are, even if it doesn't make any fucking sense. And like I said, if nothing else, it just inspired me to go and just like rip through all the ones I'd seen already. I'm going to watch the couple that I've missed along the way, because he is remarkably prolific for being able to do whatever the fuck he wants for the last 30 years.
No, he is taking huge liberties with Eisenstein's sexuality. Eisenstein was famously asexual.
Yeah, but then again, those sketches that they caught him with at the border at the end of the film, those were his.
No, he liked pornography. He didn't want to have sex. Like there's a famous conversation that he had with a friend of his where he said, everyone says I'm gay. I wish I was gay. Like if I were gay, I would be gay. I don't care about sex. Like, and that was harder for people to deal with than being gay in a lot of situations like this, because
it's still
that's not
actually
something
harder.
people can really understand in most contexts.
But if you're that interested in pornography and nudity, and you're doing these doodles all the time, you must have sex on your mind. So to say he's not interested in sex, or
he's not interested in sexual intercourse with another
He's not
human
interested
being.
in sex with other people.
There you go.
No, he's interested. Well, and that was the other part of the quote, is he says he's mentally bisexual, like Balzac or Zora. Like he understands attraction. He understands the desire for sex. He just doesn't want to do it. And to me, that would be a way more interesting character study than what's presented here. But then we wouldn't have, the actor, the Mexican actor, who is incredibly attractive with his clothes off. So
also the biggest wang I've ever seen.
Hey, the casting process must have been very interesting for this film. Very interesting.
My goodness.
Okay, take your pants off.
I thought that the lead was really like going for the fucking fences, like in every
He
take.
kind of looked like him, which is kind of nice for a biography.
The one thing I
think the acting's really good in this.
There's that one scene where like it's the Greenaway's got this thing, if you've seen the old movies, where it's like the camera will track slowly from one end of the set and go through wall, like Cook the Thief, it's happening constantly. But this was the first time where every time they passed a column, it's like they hit the reset button.
No, you're talking about that montage near the end where he's talking to Upton's wife, and I'm like, yeah.
Dude, I really liked.
I love that scene so much because
are we talking about the argument in the restaurant where they kept
moving and panning and changing perspectives, but keeping perspectives. It was gorgeous.
But in Thief, Cook, etc., they're also like changing the lighting and color scheme.
Change the lighting, the colors, and the costumes.
And the costumes.
But this one, they just were able to digitally blend everything, so it was really seamless.
It was seamless.
We have the set behind Jim, obviously inspired by the end of 2001 with the bottom lit floor. Like that was just I just thought Jim said at one point, like, Greenaway really knows how to move the camera through architecture, and this movie was no exception.
Yeah, that's true. Although
the scene where he's getting dragged naked across the floor, and it's just his back and his ass, and it's filmed from the bottom. I was dying laughing. I was just dying laughing. That was
this is part probably it was filmed in Finland, wasn't it?
Also, these guys cracked me up
the mariachi
the entire fucking time.
Oh, what the hell!
Every time they were on camera, I'm just like, this is the weirdest shit.
I know.
Are those the camaristas that they keep talking about? I googled that. It's like an Italian word, camorra. I didn't quite understand that.
I expected more comedy out of those guys.
They're professional kidnappers.
John, don't let this movie discourage you. Go watch Belly of an Architect immediately.
I didn't hate this. I lost patience with it about halfway through, and then I was, but even after I'd lost patience, I was still like, yeah, this is pretty good. It's better than some things that I've sat through. That's for sure. Yeah, it's brisk. It moves right along. There's a lot of stuff to look at. That's for sure.
Well, since we mentioned it, I think we should read Jared's comment.
Okay. Do you have it up? Well, before we get in there, let me jump in with my conclusion. I thought it was really good. I would not recommend it to anybody because I don't think they would get what I got out of it, which is like a lot of silent film history and Russian film history and the politics of the time. They would go over their head, I think, a lot. And I sound like a snob, but that's how it is. This is a very inside baseball movie.
It is. This is a movie. This is a movie about filmmaking.
There's a certain point about an hour in where I'm like, and I've seen enough dicks. Please move on to something else. It became kind of this barrier after a while. I just couldn't watch him anymore.
Well, it's not even that you've seen enough dicks. You've seen the same dick enough times.
And the same dick, and the same dick problems, and to deal with the same dick nonsense. It's like it was this whole dick story, which I'm sure you could tell with hand puppets. They're gonna make a sequel.
Same old dick.
Before we give Jared his 5 minutes of fame, can I got a couple things that I wrote down. I just wanted to make a note about it. What I was going to say about the thing was that it held my interest because there was so much going on, and it was a little bit like those dashboard toys that they give to babies that have something on a spring and a wheel.
It's a busy box.
It's a busy box. This movie is a busy box.
Oh, it's messed up.
Please put some sort of clip of a busy box in when he's talking about
or
that.
A bobblehead or something.
That's what this is with the black and white and the stills and the triptychs and all the other, bells and whistles, literally. And so
there are bells and whistles.
I was delighted when the thing started, and I was just like, oh, this is fun. It's whimsical. But I don't know. I think maybe feature length for this kind of whimsy, it lost me. And then there was the thing that Tad had up earlier, that scene on the roof. And then he did it again in another scene in the bedroom, and we went around and around. And then the one you guys were talking about where they kept moving to a different table in the restaurant so that the camera could keep tracking left with them, and the actors are walking in circles. I'm just like, that's what this genius could think of? This is the best thing he could think of to keep me occupied?
Raw cinematic motion, you weren't buying it.
Well, but it is, as Chris pointed out, it's very surface, it's all about drawing your attention again and again to the filmmaking which is okay. And I had a quote, and if I'd had time, I would have put it in the screenshot behind me, but I want to read a Greenaway quote. Let me find it.
He's got some good ones.
Talking about realism in films. He says, you can't make realism. It's an absolutely ridiculous cul-de-sac. And why bother trying? God has done it already.
Good Lord.
I like, by the way, even though I didn't really like a lot of the last third of it, the scene where he's sitting in the bell tower with the deaf blind guy who rings the bell. I liked that a lot. I thought also just the way it was framed. I wish I'd taken a screenshot of it, because just the way it's framed with him sitting on the one side and the guy sitting on the other side and the bell in between them, I thought was really well. Like, just, it's simple. It's a very simple shot, but he puts the camera in exactly the right place for that. You know, like it
he definitely knows where to put a camera.
That's true.
And how to move it.
There's a quote I've seen more than once, which is like, everything's, whether we like the end result, everything is intentional. He's got,
well, mind you, he knows where to put the camera every time to get this pleasing effect in terms of composition and layout. But he's also saying, "Look at me, I'm putting the camera exactly where it needs to go, and I'm Greenaway."
And that's why this is never going to be my favorite movie. It's never going to be my favorite filmmaker, because that's not what I go to the movies for.
Okay,
realism isn't a cul-de-sac. It's the path to emotional catharsis. I want to
look into his earlier, funnier films.
Double awesome.
The other thing that's said about him, and there was a period of time there where it was like he has been working his entire career to turn films into paintings.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go look at like the first 5 or 6 that he did,
right
now, like I was watching Drowning by Numbers last night. I got through like the first hour and 20 minutes of it. Like
first hour and 20, not the second hour and 20.
Almost without exception, his movies are under 2 hours.
Generally, yeah, they're pretty tidy.
They don't drag. I mean, I think what do you call it? Prospero was maybe the longest one, and it's not even 2.5.
Well, it's because it's based on a Shakespeare play, and they didn't cut anything.
But
if this movie was longer than it was, I would hate it.
No,
it could have been shorter. I would have been thoroughly entertained if it had been 40 minutes or something, you know.
There are scenes in Drowning by Numbers that are like fucking they're Renaissance paintings. The framing, the fact that he basically does that thing that Wes Anderson later ripped off, where like everything is in focus, even the stuff all the way at the end of the frame.
Yeah.
Flattening everything. It's very 2D, but like every single fucking thing is composed, except when it's like he's doing that vanishing point perspective. Everything is centered.
Yeah.
And
you're making an argument for formalism.
Loves that shit. Always
it is. He's a
formalist.
formalist.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's like, he wears like a badge.
That's okay. That's how it's. You know, it's a film can be many things.
But is it really?
What do you mean?
I just said it's never going to be my
Scott,
favorite.
It is really.
I know this is me talking here. Is it big hard on for form only? Is that a good thing or not?
Well,
no, didn't say form only.
Yorgos Lanthimos, like Wes Anderson again. There are others for it's like I call them like diorama movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how many close-ups are there? He's not really interested in the human being's emotions.
No, he's more about the architecture.
There's more close-ups. There's more close-ups of Eisenstein's shoes than there are of his face.
Yeah.
There was a period of time where what he was interested in was cruelty. A lot of the time, like Cook the Thief it's all about the cruelty.
You think?
And Drowning by Numbers. I mean, that's as close as he gets to a comedy, which is about women that kill their husbands. I mean, he's a misanthrope, and I fucking love him for it.
Yeah, we could probably have a discussion.
Yeah, we know why you like this movie, okay?
Right, seriously.
No, we have a discussion about the through line, but between formalism and like nihilism and horror. There's
okay, Scott. I'm gonna come up against you here. Historically, when they finally took Ivan the Terrible Part 2 away from Eisenstein, it's because they said he was a formalist.
Yeah, but it was really because Stalin was starting to warm up to Hitler,
which is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's another story entirely. But anyway, it was a good pick, Chris.
All right, so let's just read Jared's thing if you want to get
Jared.
you want to get your background back.
Okay.
I could. I couldn't get into the Greenaway film. The cinematography was excellent, and it was presented in a flashy, fun style, but it kept me at arm's length the entire time. They present an interesting, if not annoying, character in Eisenstein, but the whole thing felt a bit like an overlong music video. Big thumbs down for me.
Big thumbs down to that opinion, Jared.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jared is wrong.
Jared, wherever you are. Yeah.
Yeah, he dislikes this way more than I do.
Somewhere making everything perfectly symmetrical. You know that, right?
Wait, what?
To be fair, his objections aren't too far off of all of our.
No, they're not.
All of our caveats.
Give him a hard time because he's not here.
Complain that Greenaway is keeping you at arm's length is to like go watch the rest of his movies. That's kind of his thing.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't want to hug you.
No, he's not.